Hello, I am Jason Koforalaluwa George. I play keys alongside ShofarBand, and this is the keyboard tutorial for The One We Love off of our studio release, Behold. The first thing you're going to notice about this keyboard tutorial is not just that it is a demonstration of what you can do to complement the song in your live congregational context using Mainstage and the stock Mainstage libraries, except for one. It is going to be a dramatic reduction of everything that you hear on the track. When we play the song live, we very often use a backtrack that is based upon the one that was used and produced in pre-production going into the recording of the album. That has about 17 different types of keyboard-based instruments, and you are one keyboardist. So if reproducing the sound on the album is your goal, I would advise you to just pursue getting the track. But this is just a reduction, a simplification, if you will, of how you can present that song to a congregation. The first thing you will definitely need in order to present that song to a congregation is you will need a very good pad. I personally use RetroSynth, which is a stock Logic instrument. I EQ it within an inch of its life, just so that a lot of the high frequency components that make it an exciting synthesizer are gone, and then you're left with a warm synthesizer that sounds like this. In order to add a bit of the dimension that also makes the pad live or come to life, if you will, I use a few trivial delays and reverbs just to give a bit of space and dimension to the sound so that it doesn't sound like a claustrophobic synthesizer that's been EQ'd. The next instrument that you will need in order to make the song work live is an electric piano of any type. I personally use the Electric Grand 80 from Waves as my default electric piano. You can also use free plugins like Labs by Spitfire, makes a very good free EP plugin. You may need to just treat it first using your Logic effects to get it to a point where it can be presented. But the electric piano only makes its grand debut in the musical interlude leading into the bridge. First off, basically for this song, if you're going to be using the pad as we've discussed, you can just play the chords on the chord chart, trying your best to make them as spacious, as open as possible, as clean as possible. This is the only song, I believe, on the entire album where you are sanctioned to use that pesky minor third, just because it helps create the vibe of being a minor oriental song. So something like this would fly for the intro while the lead singer is waiting to fall in. If the intro feels a little bit empty for you, just ask other members of your band to try and just do something to fill in the space while you're busy holding down the pad fort. That chord structure, as you see according to the chord chart, runs right through the first verse, and then we get to the first chorus, which sounds something like this. And then thereafter, according to the song structure, we go into the next verse. I believe it's verse 3, which has the same chord structure as the verse as previously discussed in the video. coming out of that verse, we then go to the second chorus, which also has the same chord structure as the chorus we also previously discussed a few seconds ago. And coming out of that second chorus, we go into the bridge. It's at this point where the electric piano that you found on the internet somewhere legally makes its debut. You turn it up to perform the keyboard part that sounds like this. As you move from this musical interlude into the bridge, it's basically the same part except this 7 chord, the C over E, according to the chord chart, changes to an F over A for the bridge. That is very important. Otherwise, you might risk being out of sync with the rest of your band. It'll sound something like this. This is basically the entirety of the bridge structure. It evolves and it transforms and it grows alongside your other instruments into the final chorus filled with hopefully a whole lot of very inspiring and anointed belting, which we can support by adjusting the EQ structure of the pad if you want to. If it sounds good this way to your ears, you can continue with the same pad we've been using and merely record it like this. A bit louder, of course, than that. Or if that's not as in your face as you would like, you can adjust the EQ, or as I do, I suspend the EQ completely so that just the sound of the synthesizer comes through to help carry the song to the climax. It sounds something like this. I understand that it might be a bit much, but for us, within the context of the mix, it helps a lot just to give the song the life, to carry it further. That final chorus will sound something like this. As the song progresses, it'll then die, not in terms of it not having life anymore, but just musically the intensity will go down. You can put the EQ back on, you can reshape it so that it's a nice mellow pad. It's interesting to note that the very last chord in that chorus before it goes completely mellow is a C, a 5, for those of you who are familiar with the Nashville number system, rather than the 3 or the A minor that has been observed for most of the final chorus. That is very critical, I believe, at least. And then once you've reinstated your EQ, it'll sound something like this, which from there can move on into any song really, because that's your pad that anchors your set. This has been the keyboard tutorial for The One We Love. I trust it has been very helpful for you, and I hope for excellent execution in your local church context.